I installed a sleek automatic gate at my house, only to have a K9 unit unleashed on me by our power-hungry HOA enforcer, Mrs. Carter. She had no clue my dad was the police chief, and he happened to be home that day. What would you do if you saw your neighbor's fake security squad get dismantled by the very authority they pretended to wield? Buckle up for a wild ride. It all began with a polished black metal gate, the kind that glides open with a button's press. I'd saved for months to install it, tired of neighbors using my driveway as a turnaround, leaving tire marks everywhere. My dad, Chief Harrison, always taught me to handle issues by the book, so I checked the HOA rules, secured permits, and chose a design that blended with our upscale neighborhood. But Mrs. Carter, my nosy next-door neighbor, turned it into a full-blown war. I first caught her snapping photos of my gate while I was tending my garden. She stood there in her pristine yoga outfit, phone raised like she was at a crime scene. When I waved and asked if everything was fine, she scoffed and stormed off, her sandals slapping the pavement. The next day, a neon orange notice was plastered on my mailbox. Urgent, unauthorized modification HOA violation. My gate had been up for barely 2 days, and Mrs. Carter, the HOA's self-proclaimed sheriff, was already out for blood. I tried reasoning with her that evening, armed with my permit papers and a plate of Mom's chocolate chip cookies, a peace offering. But before I could ring her bell, her security camera blared. "I'm recording everything." "That gate's tanking our property values. The HOA board will shred you at tomorrow's emergency meeting." "Emergency meeting? Over a gate?" I called Dad, who was at a police conference in Seattle. "Stay calm," he said. "Document everything. Carter's been stirring trouble since you were in diapers. Remember when she tried to find the Millers for their birdhouse?" Unbeknownst to me, Mrs. Carter was on a crusade. While I was installing my gate, she'd been door-knocking with a petition, waving grainy photos of my monstrosity, and whispering I was turning my house into a car wash. That night, my security camera pinged. There was Mrs. Carter with 2 HOA board members, measuring my driveway in the dark with flashlights, muttering like spies. I recorded it, stifling laughter at their absurdity. Then I spotted something chilling in her hand, a business card for Prime HOA Security Solutions. A quick Google search revealed they were a shady firm with a rap sheet for strong-arm tactics, and they had a K9 unit. My phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Carter. "Meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. sharp. Attendance mandatory. Bring your checkbook. Fines start at $500 per day." I stared at my gate, gleaming under the streetlights, perfectly compliant with HOA rules. Little did she know, she'd just started a war she couldn't win. As I went to bed, my camera pinged again. Mrs. Carter was back, now with a guy in a security uniform, jotting notes and nodding. They glanced at my camera, and she smirked like she'd already won. The next morning, I woke to camera clicks. Mrs. Carter was at it again, photographing my gate at 7 a.m., joined by her HOA posse in matching khaki vests, clucking like hens. My phone buzzed with another emergency meeting alert. Perfect timing, with Dad still away. I spent the morning digging up my property maps and HOA bylaws, knowing I was in the right. But Mrs. Carter had a knack for twisting rules to her whims. Walking into the community center that evening felt like facing a kangaroo court. The room was packed. Mrs. Carter had whipped everyone into a frenzy. She launched into a PowerPoint titled, "The Erosion of Our Prestige," with doctored photos making my gate look like a prison barrier. "This is just the start," she declared. "Next, he'll paint his house neon green or park a food truck." I stood, maps in hand. Per Section 8.2 of the bylaws, gates are allowed if they match the home's exterior and stay under 8 feet. Mine's 7 feet 1 inch and matches my trim perfectly. The room hushed. Mrs. Carter's face turned crimson, but she wasn't done. She waved a folder. "I've logged 42 disturbances. Headlights glaring, motors whirring, hinges creaking." She passed around photos of my gate from every angle, including one at 2 a.m. I fired back, playing a video of her sprinklers blasting my windows at 4 a.m. Speaking of disturbances, shall we discuss water waste bylaws? That's when she dropped her bombshell. The boards voted. We've hired Westridge Security Services, a professional HOA enforcement team. They'll deal with this. I nearly laughed. Private security for a gate? But then Mr. Thompson, a neighbor, chimed in. They're legit. My friend's HOA used them. They've got patrol cars, badges, even dogs. The meeting ended with an ultimatum. Remove the gate in 48 hours or face consequences. Driving home, I figured it was another of Mrs. Carter's bluffs. She'd backed down after bullying the Garcias over their mailbox last year. But then I spotted odd tire tracks in my driveway. Under my porch light, a card. Westridge Security Services, HOA Division. Scribbled on the back. First warning. My research into Westridge turned up complaints of harassment in other neighborhoods. Before I could dig deeper, 3 black SUVs with HOA enforcement decals rolled onto my street, lights flashing. The next morning, I was sipping coffee when a deep growl jolted me. Peeking through the blinds, I saw 3 SUVs boxing in my driveway. Mrs. Carter stood smugly in her tailored blazer, filming, while a German shepherd strained on its leash. A man in a faux police uniform bellowed, "Final warning! Remove this gate in 1 hour, or we will take action." The dog lunged, making me flinch. I started recording, noticing their badges looked cheap, not reflecting light like real ones, something I'd learned from summers at Dad's precinct. I checked the county's security database. No licensed K-9 units were registered for private firms in our area. They were bluffing, and I had proof. The pounding on my door intensified. "Last chance before we release the dog." Mrs. Carter's voice rang out. "I warned you, he's been defiant for weeks. That gate's ruining our values." Neighbors gathered, phones out, as Mrs. Carter preened for her video. I grabbed my property maps, showing my gate was on my land, and dialed Dad, praying he'd answer despite being in Seattle. As the K-9 handler unclipped the leash, I heard it, the roar of Dad's police cruiser. Mrs. Carter was so busy filming, she didn't notice until his lights flashed. "This is Chief Harrison," his voice boomed. "All unauthorized security, stand down." Mrs. Carter's phone slipped from her hand, her jaw dropping. The fake officers froze. Their dogs sat instantly. I stepped onto my porch, still recording. "Mrs. Carter, your security is violating county laws on impersonation and unlicensed K-9 use. Want to see the proof?" 2 real police cars pulled up, and Mrs. Carter stammered, backing away, claiming she was protecting standards. The fake officers raised their hands, sensing the jig was up. Dad stepped out, badge gleaming. "Show me your K-9 license and company credentials." The lead officer mumbled. "We're with Westridge, hired by the HOA." Dad cut him off, scrolling his phone. "Funny, Westridge isn't in the county's database. Those uniforms? That's impersonating law enforcement." Officers Lopez and Chen, Dad's colleagues, arrived. Mrs. Carter's face hardened as she pulled out HOA papers with a county seal, claiming authority. But Dad wasn't fazed. "We've got receipts showing you paid these clowns with HOA funds. Care to explain?" Mrs. Carter snapped. "He's breaking rules with that gate." I held up my bylaws. "Nothing bans gates, but misusing HOA funds without board approval? That's a violation." Neighbors gasped, some streaming live on social media. Dad ordered Lopez and Chin to book the fake team for impersonation and haul Mrs. Carter to the station for questioning. As they were cuffed, Mr. Evans, the HOA president, watched grimly. Mrs. Carter's reign was over. The aftermath was explosive. At an emergency HOA meeting, neighbors spilled horror stories. Mrs. Carter had forced a teacher to remove her garden for weeds, fined a retiree for loud grandkids, and bullied a widow into repainting her house twice. The board ousted her, and she slipped in a mud storm, her pristine image shattered. Westridge faced charges after text surfaced showing Mrs. Carter urged them to scare residents, targeting weak families. My gate sparked a county probe into HOA abuses, exposing a web of bullies. Weeks later, our new HOA, led by Mrs. Nguyen, approved my gate as a security model. Neighbors installed similar ones, turning Mrs. Carter's vendetta into a trend. Dad hosted a security workshop, teaching rail safety tips. Even Mrs. Carter's husband attended, admitting she'd gone too far. She moved away, but not before I caught her eyeing my gate, researching one for her new place. Sometimes, the best revenge is showing a better way. What do you think? Was Mrs. Carter a tyrant who got what she deserved, or did I escalate things too far by involving my dad? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's debate who's right and if pranks or power plays belong in neighbor disputes. Hit that like button if you're Team Gate, and subscribe for more drama.